Stocks our strategists feel are poised to deliver positive returns are featured now in their top stock picks of the week.
Welcome to Zacks Top Stock Picks of the Week. I'm Tracy Reinick, and I'm joined this week by Kevin Cook. And we have a couple of hot number one stocks that are breaking out to multi-year highs. And no, they're not technology, although one might have kind of a techie component to it. But I'm going to lead it off with my top stock pick, Exxon Mobil, ticker XOM. And yes, it's energy. And yes, you might be tired of it, or you don't care because of climate change or ESG issues. But Exxon has the numbers to get that Zacks number one rank, and it's really growing those earnings right now. So let's dive right in and see why it's a top stock pick. So here's Exxon's earnings estimates, and we're about to wrap up 2021 here, and you can see it's got huge earnings growth, over 1,000% here. And why is that? Because last year, remember, was terrible, and they lost 33 cents as the pandemic crushed down crude and natural gas prices, and the companies were just basically doing enough to survive last year. But this year, not true, as we're seeing $5 and maybe more, a little bit more. We'll see here in 2021 what they do. But this year, we've got a rebound of both natural gas and crude prices. And don't forget, Exxon is one of the largest chemical companies as well in the United States. And chemical prices surging on both demand and inflationary pressures. So I'm expecting another good quarter out of the chemical side if they can get their hands on some of those chemicals. That's also an issue right now with these supply chain dynamics. But Exxon, again, is big oil. It's the integrated. It's got upstream and downstream. It's got the service stations, the refining, chemical side, and producing. So it's got its hands in every aspect of the energy market, and that's paying off here as crude and natural gas prices rise. Now, what to look for in 2022, you can see analysts expect another nice gain here in 2022, up 22% going into this year. And we can see some of the analysts getting bullish even in just the last week, as that earnings report is coming quickly here in January and early February, and they're getting bullish ahead of that number, and that's a positive. What does all this earnings growth look like on the chart? I brought the price and consensus so you can see, and here's the big crash, no doubt about that. And then we had this recovery here in 2021, and now we're seeing upward pressure on these estimates for 2022 again, and 2023 even starting to see a little bit of upward pressure on those estimates as well. But what are the shares actually looking like? Because they're really cheap here on a PE basis. They have surged off of those 2020 lows. So we had the initial crash there when the pandemic hit. As you can see right here, shares did rally on, we might get a recovery. And then when that recovery wasn't that great, and we had the summer outbreak in 2020, and there was no vaccine yet, shares then crashed back down. This was a real buying opportunity by November of 2020. But then the vaccines were announced by Pfizer, and the shares have taken off and remain pretty much taken off here as we head into 2022. Not as big a gain here in 2021, is kind of waiting to see what was going to happen and consolidating a bit. But now that WTI especially is back to multi-year highs over $80 and maybe eyeing that $90 level, these shares have surged. But how good is it? How much more is left in the tank? I keep hearing that this rally is done. Well, I brought the 20-year chart we have here at Zacks, and the last bull market actually started back here in the 20 years of this chart and went up to about here in 2008. And that's when crude went up to over 150. And we got the peaks here, and then it's been in this bear market ever since. Had another peak here in 2014, common in bear markets. I call these the fake outs that happen during bear markets, because It didn't hold when crude plunged here in 2015, and then it's been basically going almost nowhere here. Here's the plunge in 2020, and then we had, oh no, here's the plunge. I'm sorry, there's multiple plunges. Here's the plunge in 2020 as, the shares really got hammered here. But again, this was the buying opportunity. Now, I believe that we're entering into a new bull market for the energy companies. And interestingly, we're about to test these 2014 highs over here. And when we test those, and if we bust out above those 2014 highs, that's going to be a real signal to me that this chart's going to look a lot different. The chart's going to look more like this area where we saw the bull market in crude during the first decade of this century, and it went on for about 9 years. So that's what I'm looking for in the long term. But in the short term right here, they're going to report earnings again. We're going to get some guidance into 2022. They are still paying that really juicy dividend, yielding almost 5%, even given this big rally. And they have the cash flows now to pay it with crude and natural gas and chemical prices all at these levels. It's going to be a bonanza on the free cash flow side. So I like everything that's going on with energy. Exxon is one of the big integrated oil companies that has, a little bit more safety in it than some of the smaller caps because of its diverse business model with the chemical side. And it also is unique in that it does have that big chemical side. Chevron doesn't have as big a chemical division. And Occidental is the only other kind of bigger oil company in the US that has competition for the chemical side. So I'm liking all that on the reopen, and demand is expected to soar here in 2022 once we get past this Omicron wave. And yes, the global economy continues to recover. So I'm a big fan, as you can tell, about the energy companies. And Exxon is the Zacks #1 strong buy, and it's at the top of that list. Now I'm going to turn it over to Kevin Cook, because he has what is kind of the flip side to the energy companies right here. And he's going to tell you all about his top stock pick of the week right now.
Hey, thanks, Tracy. All right, my top pick this week is Ford. Last week, a couple weeks ago, I did a piece, Ford Lightning plays catch me if you can. And that's because the stock has taken off, and all kinds of good news about new vehicles like the F-150 Lightning EV. That week, Ford shares vaulted over 11% in one day on enormous volume of 311 million shares. And the big catalyst was CEO Jim Farley saying that, hey, we're raising production. Now, going into the following week was when they were going to begin sending invitations to F-150 Lightning reservation holders to go ahead and basically place their order, activate their reservation. And so a little concerned about that. We took some small profits. We took like 85% profits from our buys down at 13. And just in case, but Farley did something so cool, and I'm going to show you in a minute what he did. Let's take a look at that price chart. Phenomenal launch. So we had this big sideways consolidation November into December. And then here was that big day, January 4th, 311 million shares, just blowing the doors off of everybody, taking out anybody who was last short the stock. And now if you look at this, I mean, technically, this sets up $30 this year easy. In Q1 we could see 28, but I bet you before June we'll see $30 in Ford just on the technical breakout. Let's go over some of the recent goodness because Ford surprised everybody with sales. Now, 2021 actually proves to be a down year overall for Ford, down 7% for the year, but Q4 they blew everybody else away with 508,000 vehicles domestically. Semiconductor shortage, not a problem, as the F-150, not the Lightning, but the traditional F-150, the Bronco Sport, which is hot, and the Mustang Mach-E, which is even hotter, pushed Ford's December totals up 5% year over year. And I mentioned they raised Lightning production. Here was a good quote from Andrew Frick. He said, "The fourth quarter represented an inflection point at Ford in our transition from cars to a much greater focus on iconic trucks, SUVs, and electric vehicles to better serve our customers." Let's take a look at some of the vehicles. Well, here's the Mach-E. Now, the Mach-E is selling in China, and Ford just raised production estimates for the Mach-E for China. This is a really sexy looking car, and these pictures actually don't do it justice. I love the straight on profile view, and they just don't have one here. But look at that color. Oh, that'd be a beauty, that GT right there. Starting at 44,000. All right, what else do I want to show you? So let's get to, let's look at some of these sales details, because this was from the report they put out, just a 4-page PDF describing what's working. And so I want to skip down here to the Mach-E. Mustang Mach-E sales totaled 27,000 vehicles in 2021, making it the nation's second best-selling full electric SUV behind Tesla's Model Y. Combined Mustang Mach-E and Mustang sales totaled 79,500 in 21, up 30%. So many good things happen here. And this Bronco, I love this Bronco. And this throwback is catching some eyes too. People love that throwback look. And so that's why those are selling. Okay, let's go to Farley. What did Farley have to say the other day? So this is at the end of last week, the 14th. He's sort of recapping. Okay, we invited reservation holders to, activate their purchase. He said week one of Lightning orders, top states, Texas, California, New York, Lariat, and Platinum are faves, lots of colors. We're inviting reservation holders to order in waves so customers have time to consider and complete their order. Wave 2 invite on Jan 20. This is genius. So here I was trimming a little bit of Ford shares above 14 over a week ago, because I thought, what's going to happen? What if these these reservation holders disappoint and they're not activating as many orders? Well, this was genius by Ford and Farley for two reasons. One, sort of build the anticipation, right? If you got an invitation to activate your F-150 Lightning reservation, you're excited. And if you didn't, you're chomping at the bit, right? And the other thing is instead of a mad rush where people are, scrambling for, the color, the features, et cetera, people don't feel so rushed, right? Okay, I've got time to place my order. I'm not competing against the other 199,000 reservation holders, which Ford finally had to cap, just because, they're not going to be able to, they're going to try and do 150,000 this year. So that's why they had to cap reservations at 200,000, I believe. Or what was the other cool thing I wanted to show you here? Let's quick look at the estimates before we go. So, and we'll go right to the detailed estimates page, because I want to show you the earnings estimates have gone up, and we've got some peers here who aren't doing too poorly either. Obviously, General Motors, another sleeper. Nobody expected both of these companies to launch the way they did. So, Ford is now officially over $100 billion market cap. We were buying it when it was at $50 billion because I thought it was extremely undervalued versus Tesla. Oh, and I'll show you my original thesis about the Lightning versus the Cyber thingy. Okay, so number one rank there, Ford. Let's scroll down here. So just looking at the top line is expected to increase 13% to 147 billion. Very nice. EPS, which, the upward revisions have made this a Zacks number one rank. In the past quarter, we've gone from $1.57. Well, that was for last year. So let's look at this year. So in the past 90 days, 2022 has gone from $1.74 to $1.96. I expect that to rise, and I expect sales to rise too. And just for a look at the competition, so you can see, that GM is surprising everybody too, going electric with the Silverado and other things. It's a rank number 2. So GM is going to grow sales projected 14.6% to $144.6 billion. And profits are also coming back slowly for them too. Rivian, I just want to say Rivian, what is it, a market cap? I mean, it was like 100 billion, maybe it's 75 billion now. And Ford just basically, they were an early investor. They basically cashed, are taking their profits. They're not going to build a vehicle with Rivian. They see the path forward is clear. And so this was the path that I laid out in July when I said to be a buyer under 14 of Ford shares. I said the F-150 Lightning will crush the Tesla Cybertruck. What I mean by that is I don't think Tesla is going to meet production. And in the end, the F-150 Lightning is a much more attractive truck that'll appeal to a wider audience, from contractors to fleets, and then just turning heads everywhere where people are like, whoa, look at that sexy truck and everything it can do. It's connected and intelligent. So that's always been my thesis with the F-150 Lightning, but Ford is firing on lots of fronts. And that's why I think you can still buy the stock under 25, so dips to 24. You can buy it. All right. That's it for my topic. Now let's talk about the weekly promo. I want to give you a heads up, surprise trader. Here we're entering the thick of earnings season, and surprise trader opens up once a quarter to let new members in so that you can find out which stocks have the highest probability of surprising. So all you got to do is go to Zacks.com/promo, and you can get into the surprise trader this week. And, there's just going to be a slew of picks that have, we have a proprietary signal we call ESP, which is the earnings surprise predictor. And this is a quantitative model. It's just a screen where the model is able to find the stocks with the highest probability of delivering an earnings surprise. And those are the stocks that, as you know, that pop. All right, so get on that waiting list today, and we will talk to you next week.